Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to Call Us Now. My name is Lindy Weinhardt, and I'm hosting this evening's show. Bill can't be here this evening because, well, he's out starting his campaign. As you know, he is running for the mayor of the city of Seattle, so he's setting up his campaign offices this evening, and there will be an address for you to send campaign donations to. Tonight's topic is graveyards and cemeteries. Fact or fiction, true or false? Tonight we're going to dig up the truth about graveyards. With our panel of experts, to my left here, you can call in and ask us questions and we will uncover the truth about graveyards. My name is Lindy Weinhardt and I am an investigative reporter for such noted periodicals as The Star, The National Enquirer, The Hollywood Reporter, and The Seattle Times. So I'm here to dig up the truth. To my left is Bernard Casey, and he is sales manager of the Zippity-Doo-Dah, Zippity-Dead Graveyard, located in beautiful downtown White Center. To his left is Carl Royer, who is a member of the City of Seattle Planning Department, and he will be here to talk to us a little bit about what's going on in that department. And to his left is Turk Mitchell, who is a professional gravedigger, as I understand it. And he's going to give us kind of an inside look as to what is going on in the graveyard situations today. Thank you, gentlemen, for showing up this evening.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. This topic this evening was sent in by Carl Terry of Juneau, Alaska. Thank you very much, Carl, and we'll be sending you a Call Us Now t-shirt. Our phone number is 522-3564. Call us up and talk to us. Now, Mr. Casey, I understand that you're a sales manager for a graveyard.
That's right, the Zippity-Doo-Dah, Zippity-Dead Graveyard.
That's right. What kind of business do you do out there in White Center?
Well, we like to say we do a land office business out there, the Zippity-Doo-Dah, Zippity-Dead Graveyard. Basically, I am the sales manager, and I sell gravestones, headstones, burial plots, mausoleum drawers, whatever you need. If you're dead, we got a place for you.
What is the price range of the things that you have to offer for your dead customers?
Well, we start at $35 and go right on up to $6,000. Just depends on how involved you want your burial to be and your plot to be.
So you could say, Mr. Casey, that you are running kind of a bargain house for graveyards.
Well, some people wouldn't consider $6,000 a bargain, but they certainly would think of $35 as a pretty good deal to park your bottom underground.
Okay, that's very nice. Mr. Royer?
Yes. No relation.
Oh, yes. Could you tell us a little bit about what the City of Seattle Department of Planning has to do and what their ideas are about graveyards?
Well, land is becoming quite valuable here within the city limits, and we are looking at some of the cemeteries, graveyards around the area to see if there's some more efficient use of the land. Perhaps
Mr. Royer,
well,
Mr. Royer, how can you become more efficient with respect for the dead and things like that?
Well, we have respect for the dead, but there's a lot of land out there, and what we've done is come up with a compromise so that there could be a double use, used as a graveyard or a cemetery and as something else. And what I'm hoping we can do here from Call Us Now is use this as kind of a public forum to help get some feedback on these ideas, for you to contribute ideas as well before we present them to the City Council. And I'd like to have a nice list to present my boss, Ted Royer, who's no relation. For example, one idea is to make some money for the city as well, and to help out your property taxes. I suppose if you could sell advertising space on some of the headstones, that would be a great idea for doctors, for florists, for attorneys, probate attorneys. Shape them as golden arches. You could have neon, to get some attention.
Good, that sounds very nice. Mr. Mitchell, tell us what you do. You work for a graveyard here in Seattle that will remain unnamed, I understand.
Right.
And as I understand it, you're on your lunch hour right now.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right.
Yes. Mr. Mitchell is very busy, and he is consented to come down here and talk to us a little bit about grave digging and what that entails.
Right.
Could you expand on that a little bit?
Well, sure. people die and I put them in the ground. I dig a big hole.
You dig holes.
And put them in the ground. And put them back to God.
You're on your lunch hour now? You know what time it is?
Grave diggers work at night, I understand.
It's about half through shift.
What is it? That's called the graveyard shift, actually, isn't it? Yeah. My, that's an awfully late time to work.
That's right.
Must be kind of tough to
Graveyard.
dig in these temperatures as well.
It's hard, especially
it
some places have rocks, many rocks, bricks. His yard, what's your name?
Bernard Casey.
Mr. Casey, he has not, it's an ununion yard, many rocks too, underpays employees.
Well,
Terrible place to work. Where I work is very soft. When people die and I put them in the ground, there's not much more to say, really. There's no smell or anything. People always think there's a smell, but there's no smell.
well, if you put them in a casket, there's no smell, but if you don't use a casket, you got to get them in there pretty quick, don't you?
Well, yes, that's true, but you know, we use plastic and it's no problem.
I think maybe perhaps we should go to the phones and see what our viewing audience has to say about graveyards. Thank you for calling. Call us now. You're on the air. Do you have a question for our panel?
Well, I was reincarnated from a duck-billed platypus. And, hello?
Yes.
You're not going to hang up? Well, anyways,
I changed my mind. I think I will hang up.
That brings up an interesting point. We
Yes.
at the Zippity Doodah Zippity Dead Graveyard have a special dead pet bone graveyard. If your pets have died, well, just put them in a pot on the stove, boil them down till there's nothing left but the bones, and bring those bones right on in, because we've got a place for them at the Zippity Doodah Zippity Dead Pet Cemetery.
That is interesting, Mr. Casey, but I do believe that your company is taking advantage of our dearly departed. And isn't it true that you overcharge people, that in a moment of grief-stricken anxiety, you stab these people for everything that they are worth and leave them with absolutely nothing? And when, in fact, I know for a fact that sometimes you don't even bury the people, but you put an empty coffin. Isn't that true?
I have a friend that works at his yard, and he says sometimes an 8-foot casket weighs less than 4 pounds.
How can that be?
Because it's made of
Explain that.
styrofoam,
He can carry
you silly
6
woman.
of them and plant 6 at one time.
This is
Well,
disgusting.
It's
there was a
completely
family. It was a family that was killed in an airplane crash, and so we buried them all together in a 4-pound styrofoam casket, and that was one of the $35 ones. And you bring up an interesting issue here. You talk about respect for the dead. Now, why is it we have to show respect for dead people? What if this person was a real jerk in life, somebody that nobody liked this person, they didn't like him at all, and all of a sudden they're dead, so they're worthy of respect? We don't believe that at the Zippity Doodah Zippity Dead Graveyard.
You have
If
your
you've
own
got it-
spot there, then, I guess.
I have an office there, yes. If we have somebody come in and their brother died and they said, hey, my brother was a real cow's bottom, well, we'll treat him like a cow's bottom. We'll put him in the worst site there. We'll put him in a broken styrofoam coffin. If they want to be cremated, we may not even complete the cremation. We may just melt them down a little bit or shard them or fillet them or something and just treat them with no respect whatsoever. And that makes a lot of the relatives that are still alive very happy.
So you can say, as done in life, done in death. Done in
Right.
life, done in left. Right,
Done and
left.
right, left,
Dead, right.
Yes.
I
Did
understand.
you understand? I didn't.
No, all I know is that I think he's got his spot waiting for him there. No, you'll be interred there, right? At
Please
your
don't
own-
use that kind of language on any
No,
show. that
at
I'm
your site, your grave site, your grave.
No, I'm going to be buried at Washelli, thank you.
We're talking to Washelli. This is interesting. The city of Seattle is talking to Washelli, working out a deal with what's his name, Bering, the new owner of the Seahawks, as possibly turning it into a new Seahawks training camp, using gravestones, headstones to Dodge. You know, instead of the place over in Kirkland they had to move out of and then to another place, we'd like them right here in the city. This is another great double use. People could come in, visit their dearly departed, and watch some Seahawks train.
Maybe we could have some Little League or Pee Wee training out at...
I understand that. Let's
Zippity-doo-dah.
ask our viewing audience how they feel about having graveyards used as Seattle Seahawks training camp. Hi, caller, are you there?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
It's good, but what about the basketball players?
He's bringing up a very interesting point. We have to have fair time for basketball players,
Well, you
too.
know, the mausoleums.
Metallica. Mike Boddington, Metallica. Yeah, rock.
He seems to be pretty happy about that.
He got an idea, I think. The mausoleums would work. You know, you could hook a little basket that usually
there you
holds
go.
flowers or something.
There you go.
You know, maybe third, fourth level.
That's a great idea. You could go into one of those and you could just open up one of the drawers and throw the ball in there.
Shoot a couple of baskets, yeah.
Huh.
You could play ghost and horse.
We could charge the kids a little money to go in there and do that. That's great.
Exactly what we're trying to do, get more use out of the city's grave sites. I think it's a great idea. I don't find anything. Yes, I thought you'd be interested in that.
Here's a question that I'd like to pose to Mr. Casey.
Yes.
In my investigative reporting, I have found out that there have been some bodies that have been dead for quite a long time, maybe 100, 150 to 200 years old. Is it true, Mr. Casey, that those bodies are dug up and thrown away?
Well, no. What usually happens in that case is when you've been dead for 150 years, there's not a whole lot left of you. In fact, there's nothing left of you or the coffin, and those headstones just sort of get grown over and grown over, and it's not my responsibility to maintain those. If the relatives don't come in and maintain those headstones for 150 years, well, it's not my problem if it gets grown over and I sort of lose track of where it is and accidentally bury somebody else in the same spot.
Mr. Casey, let me ask you this one question, though.
All right.
After those bodies are dug up and thrown away, does that person get a refund?
Well, no, because they're dead.
Ah. I see. What happens to the money then? I mean, the person obviously paid good money to be buried there, and they're taking something away. I mean, if you have a product and you take it back to Kmart, you usually get your money back, or you get something else. What does this person get?
They get nothing, and the money goes into employee benefits at the Zippity-Doo-Dah graveyard.
Well, that must make you feel better, Mr. Mitchell.
Why?
Never mind. Let's go to the phones and see what our viewers have to say about this. Good evening, and thank you for calling Call Us Now. Do you have a question for our panel? Hello?
It's a dead line.
It's a dead person on that dead line.
It seems to be. Well, Mr. Mitchell, you're looking a little bit uncomfortable over there. Is all this making you a little bit upset, talking about your job and what's at stake here to happen to your workplace?
Frankly, it all is going over my head completely. Just people die and I put them in the ground. I don't quite understand.
Most of the people that are employed in graveyards, with the exception of sales managers, are really stupid, and I think...
Hey, that is not true at all.
Well, not very intelligent, I'm sorry.
That's not true either. We take a lot of pride in our work and try to show a lot of respect for those that have passed and those who are passing through our hands. It's important for us to keep sort of a low profile, but that should not be confused with stupidity or anything.
Mr. Mitchell, I'd like to ask you a question.
Why? What's the big problem?
She smells.
Okay.
What seems to be the problem?
Mrs. Anderson is in the lobby. I brought her, and she smells, and the employees are complaining.
Oh, there seems to be a dead body in the lobby.
Yeah, she's not going to get out, though. Tell everyone they're not going to be hurt. I have to go. I'm sorry.
I didn't know you were supposed to bring your work with you to this thing.
I'm sorry. I didn't have no choice.
We're having a special this week.
Jeez.
That's very interesting. I wanted to ask Mr. Mitchell a very pertinent question, but maybe perhaps you two could answer my question for me. I was wondering if either of you thought in your planning or in the graveyard that you own or manage, rather, do you have problems with grave robbers, and what do they do about that?
Well, we did have a problem until we put in punji sticks. I mean, we have the perimeter of the graveyard is lined with punji sticks, and you have to get permission to come into the graveyard, or else you're punjied.
What is a punji?
It's a sharp-pointed stick with stuff on it, and you come in there and you fall on it, and you die, and you have to be buried.
And creates more business for yourself.
Well,
That's
kind of.
very ingenious of you.
Yeah, little something that we didn't really plan on, but it's been good for business.
Mr. Roy, have you...
Yeah, I'd like to get more calls in with other ideas that I can take down
to
the City Council, because we haven't had a chance to have our public hearing yet, and this is coming up soon. I have to present
Okay,
this.
we're looking Thank you for calling Call Us Now, and we're looking for ideas on how to use graveyards and cemetery sites. Do you have any ideas?
More efficient use.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I was recently driving through Evergreen Washalee with a friend.
Yes.
Mostly just curious. We'd never been there before, no particular reason to go in.
Uh-huh.
And the place is a perfect go-kart course.
A
Right,
go-kart
yes.
Really wide enough.
Excellent idea.
Well-banked corners and many crossroads, which allow you to, you know, a little adventure, a good opportunity to
Caller,
possibly ram into something.
Could I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Are both of your parents intact? I mean, are they alive?
Yes, they are.
Are your grandparents still alive?
Most of them are not.
Okay, let me ask you a question. How would you feel about post-adolescence youth driving around go-karts all over your grandparents' graveyards?
To tell you the honest truth, it wouldn't bother me in the slightest. One of my grandparents is buried there, and I'd love the opportunity to drive through there on a go-kart.
I see. Well, thank you for your call.
That's
You're
an
welcome.
Excellent idea. You know, we have other ideas people have offered, like pea patch farming there. I think, did I mention mini golf earlier? You could take some of those gravestones, make them into little windmills and things. Great mini golf courses. Cattle grazing, I mentioned that before, would help keep down costs from gardening and mowing the grass.
You could take, if there was cattle grazing there, you could take a cow, let's say, and brand, like it could be a headstone, a moving headstone. You could brand someone's name and their
another wonderful idea.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, but this sounds like a money-making forum here, and I am just personally disturbed about the fact that it's just not right. The moral issue here is that we bury our dead. We have respect for our dead. Ancient Indian tribes have great rituals and great graveyards to honor their dead and the people that have lived before them. It seems to me that all this is so disrespectful, it makes me sick.
You think this is some kind of a plot?
Yes, I think so. I think that the garbage that you are trying to dig up here on this show is just a little bit too much.
That's another
for me.
idea. We're looking for landfill areas.
So you could put about 6 feet of dirt on top of the existing graves and bury somebody new. That's a terrible idea. That's very disrespectful.
Okay, Mr. Casey, I have another question for you.
Yes.
About, since we are talking about the money-making aspect of graveyards and cemeteries, I'd like to know particularly what happens to the flowers that people go to pay respect to their dead mother or their dead father or their dead uncle. They spend lots of money on flowers and all kinds of monuments and things like that, and they go and pay their respect and pray and things like that. And what happens to those flowers?
Well, a couple of different things happen to them. Most of them end up at the tables at Cutter's restaurant down
so you have a deal with Cutters?
Well, yeah, they give me some food and I give them the flowers. I mean, you can't leave them in the graveyard forever. They wilt and die, and
they'll die.
They'll die, that's right. So we put them on the table at Cutters for all the trendy people to enjoy, and then also we ship a lot of them down to Tacoma for the daffodil parade. A lot of your $35 graves will end up with daffodils on them rather than the roses on the $6,000 graves, so we just ship those off to Tacoma for the daffodil parade.
I see.
I like that idea of conservation and reusing things, getting the best use out of, the 2 uses for flowers, 2 uses for the cemeteries.
Personally, it seems sick. Let's see what our caller has to say about this. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Can you tell us what you think about this?
Line has gone dead again?
It's gone dead again.
I think you're selling me a bit short here. I think that you aren't giving me the credit for the good taste I have and the way that I run the graveyard. And what I'd like, I brought a commercial with me that runs on television quite regularly. Your viewers, I'm sure, will
Are you still here?
Oh.
Yes, we're still here. And I'd like to maybe show the viewers that ad and they get a better idea of what the graveyard looks like and what we do there.
All right, Mr. Casey, that sounds like a very good idea. If we have that right now, that commercial, then we'll like to roll Mr. Casey's commercial at this particular time. I don't.
This is Bernard down at the Zippity Doodah Zippity Dead Graveyard, and we've got some specials this weekend that we know you're going to be interested in. Hey, were you really important while you were alive? Well, let people know you were important when you were dead. Get a really big headstone. Or if you're a creative kind of person and you've got some ideas that are a little different, like putting a house on top of your headstone or maybe bookends on either side, we can do that. We can put little houses on top. Really, we can do it. And say, what if you're one of those kinds of people who don't have much imagination at all? Well, we have medium-sized, boring headstones, and we have little cheap ones for you people who are economy-minded. PVC. And if you'd like a good used headstone, we have literally tons of used headstones to choose from. And are you an animal lover? Well, bring those dead pet bones down and we'll sprinkle them amongst their dead friends, and they can live forever in eternity just bone to bone. So stop on down at the Zippity Doodah Zippity Dead Graveyard and ask for me, Bernard, the sales manager. Drop in today.
Graveyard.
Yes, Mr. Casey. That's a very, very impressive commercial.
Thank you.
Still got a lot of room there, too, I see.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of room.
I'd like to go to the phones at this particular moment and see how this commercial has affected our viewing audience, and maybe perhaps we can drum up some business for you.
Hey, great.
Dig up some business.
Hi, thank you for calling
All
Call
those
Us
jokes
Now.
coming
Are you
out.
there?
Yeah, I like to have some business with Bernard, but first of all, I got a business to sell here.
Yes.
That is, I was thinking about having a firm called Condo Grave, where
Condo
you have like 5 coffins in one grave, like stack them up one top of another.
I see, to save
And
the
I'd like
land
to know
use.
how do one do about that, and I also have to ask Carl if there's a city ordinance against that.
Okay, that's a very good question.
I don't believe so. You know, that sounds like my assistant, Harry Royer. No relation. There is no ordinance against that. In fact, you can do just about anything you want in the ground.
Condo grave sites could be something of the future.
Oh, yes.
What's been very popular at the Zippity Doodah Zippity Dead Graveyard is rental plots, where someone is buried and maybe they're there on a month-to-month lease, and maybe 6-8 months later we just dig them up and give them back to their relatives, and somebody else goes in there.
Oh, I see. So kind of a rental plot.
Mm-hmm.
Timeshare?
Now you can do that too. You could put the dead person back in that grave for a week every year.
That's true. You could go have a Hawaiian plot as well.
That's right.
That would be kind of neat.
A lot of the snowbirds, they like to be buried in Arizona in the wintertime and then up here in the summer. So
you can
I
get
see.
travel
So
money too then and earn some frequent flyer mileage with, yes.
that's right.
you provide a service then for the retired people who have then kicked the bucket and are used to spending.
Right. Most retired people end up dying, and when they do, they like to be buried someplace that's nice, weather-wise and beauty-wise and all that. So yes, Arizona.
So, Mr. Casey, I hear a contradiction in the things that you're saying where about respect for the dead, and you're saying poo-pooed all that stuff, and then yet you offer such a service, such an extravagant service for retired people. It seems to me that's a little bit going against what you said earlier.
Well, no, I only meant that the lack of respect towards people that didn't deserve respect. Now, let's take Bill, the normal host of the show. Everyone knows that the reason he isn't here tonight is you've been flooded with letters begging you to get him off the air. Well, he's somebody who deserves no respect whatsoever. Now, a person like that, you could put him in the ground and maybe have him right out in the street where cars are constantly driving over him, or animals are urinating upon him, or it just
Now,
makes
wait
no
a minute.
difference.
I want to
person
stand
doesn't
up for
deserve any
Bill here,
respect.
because if he's elected mayor, I've got to depend on him to keep my job.
If he's elected mayor,
That's
I'm
true.
afraid
And
I'll
I'm
be
not
residing
related
in
to him
another
in
city.
any way.
I'm sorry.
I'm not related to Bill in any way, and I'm not sure how safe my job will be. Maybe I'm
So
related
you don't
to
want
Bill.
him to run.
I'd like to go to the phones to see what they have to say about all this. Hi, thank you for calling Call Us Now, and do you have a question for our panel?
Is that me?
That's you.
Okay, I have a question for Mr. Casey. Actually, something I don't think he's going to agree with, but I'd like to know, why can't we just eat all our dead and solve our hunger problem, and then we can take all these cemeteries we'll no longer need, turn them into friendly little housing subdivisions like Dead Acres or Cemetery Heights or Hell's Half Acre, and solve some of the housing shortage as well?
Because if you ate the dead relatives, you'd get fat and I'd starve. That's why.
He's got a point there.
Well, I don't see anything wrong with that.
In fact, that goes right along with Mr. Royer's, thank you for calling, Mr. Royer's plan of effective land use.
Yes.
There.
Yes,
what do you think about those ideas?
Well, perish the thought of eating your relatives. I have some neighbors, though, that look kind of tasty, but you know, it would solve two problems at once, and putting housing in there would be all right, but we're looking for open spaces as well. It doesn't have to be housing necessarily. When we have a graveyard that's got some bodies in it, we can still use it for other things.
It seems to me, what has become of this society where we are sitting here like civilized human beings talking about eating our dead and using our cemeteries as housing projects and training camps for football? What has happened to our society? Mr. Casey?
Well, I think we're just getting smarter as we evolve. I mean, don't waste that land just parking people there. I'm a little concerned with some of the ideas that my cohort here has expressed, my fellow panel member, but some of them sound pretty good. I mean, the putt-putt golf, you could come in and lay some of those flowers.
Gentlemen, you are avoiding the issue. The issue here is this is our dead. This is my flesh and blood
They're
that I am
dead. I don't know any of these people
Well,
that are buried in
Have
my
you ever
graveyard.
had someone die and you bury them and you go visit them? You keep the memory alive. That is what. Why do we have tombstones? I mean, you yourself on
For advertising,
on your,
you can get some advertising. Well, when they kick the bucket, they don't have to kick the buck. Am I right?
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's the way we feel. And why waste the space? We need open spaces.
I need to know, is
breathing
there
room.
anybody else out there who feels as I do in the fact that it is morally wrong? Is the caller on the line? How do you feel? Do you feel like this is a moral issue here? Do you feel like something is being done wrong in the use of graveyards? Are you there? Well, maybe it was a direct line to a cemetery. I'm sorry.
Think of, like, imagine the runway at SeaTac, just totally full of dead bodies. What a great, I am an airplane lover. I'd love to have a 747 land in my forehead 35, 40 times a day. I think it's a great idea, and there's a lot of people out there that would like the same thing.
But Mr. Casey, what about rest in peace? Things like that. I mean, it just doesn't seem right.
I'm an exciting guy. I don't want to rest in peace. I don't want to fall asleep for the rest of my life. I want a little activity. I want football players running across my grave. I like that. I want airplanes landing on my nose. I want pee-wee baseball being played above me and go-karts going by over and near me. I like it. I like your idea. I like it.
So,
I'd like
Mr.
to talk to you
Royer,
after the show. I've got some papers maybe you want to fill out. We can come up with a little partnership here and make a couple of...
It's too bad.
I'm sorry.
I'm not in this for the money.
No.
It's too bad Mr. Mitchell is still gone. I would like to ask him a few questions about how he feels. It seems to me that it endangers his position a little bit, all these different types of land use for graveyards. I'd like to bring up the issue really quick about cremation. And when a customer comes to you and wants somebody cremated, how does that affect your business? And
no problem. No, you can be cremated and filleted and scalloped and shard and crushed and dehydrated. We don't care. We'll bury whatever condition you're in.
as long as you can make a buck, is that right, Mr. Casey?
Well, we have to the cost to run. I mean, we have to cut the grass and the grass needs to be cut and the grounds need to be
You don't have
cut.
to bury someone if they're cremated. You have ashes. They can have them at home in an urn. Or you can, we have some ideas of things that, so it doesn't fill up the landfill so much. Take the ashes, you can make little crystal things, you can hang them on your tree.
right.
It could be
That-
Uncle
there's an
Harry,
important use there.
Aunt Harriet.
An important use.
You could have an
Different colors
entire
and-
family's ashes being crushed into a monument.
Yes.
Let's go to the phone and see. Hello, caller. Thank you for calling. Call us now. What do you feel? Do you prefer cremation or perhaps a burial on a runway? Perhaps. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I would much prefer cremation to anything. Burial on a runway. Is this for real?
We're here. We're real. We're live here on Call Us Now. You called us. You're talking to us live.
Yeah, I get that impression. No, I decided a long time ago that my only option would be cremation, but my parents would have to die before me because it's against their religion.
Oh, I see. Well, there might be a good chance of that. They're probably older than you. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
We just had somebody the other day that we dropped out of an airplane in a plastic bag from 12,000 feet.
Their ashes or their bodies?
Well, it was kind of like...
Is it over the Cascades?
No, it was right over the graveyard.
Oh, I
so
see.
you
So
keep it
that
right
makes
there. It's not littering
a massive use. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the panel this evening, and I think you're going to rot in hell.
Well, thank you very much.